Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm Michael Smerconish. For those of you in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware are, as usual, tuned to the Big Talker 1210, based in Philadelphia. It's 5 minutes after the hour, and the experiment, the 3-day experiment, begins because we're also being simulcast on this great day, a spectacular day weather-wise in the Philadelphia area on MSNBC. So it's an exciting day, although my celebrity was short-lived. It lasted about 4 minutes this morning. Here, I should mention, in New York with me is the executive producer of my program, and that's the lovely and talented TC.
Good morning, sir. Back
at the mothership in Philadelphia, we've got Joan Jones, who does news for us on the Big Talker 1210 in Philly.
Good morning.
Hello, Joan. How are the pipes? I know you've been out for a couple of days.
I have. The pipes are back.
All right. Pipes are back. We're ready to roll.
Sir.
Greg Stocker.
What's up?
Technical producer, ready to push all the right buttons. And we brought in Dr. Bart from Account Temps to make sure that we stay on the air today. It's always difficult for me to introduce Jackie Mason because Jackie Mason once afforded me the greatest introduction, do we have this, that I've ever had. Roll that tape.
This fascinating personality of the radio talk show's business. His name is Michael Smerconish. Michael Smerconish got that name because they were trying to get even with him. Because I don't know what his parents were trying to do when they picked out Smerconish as a name. Jews have changed their names throughout history when they were called Bernstein or Goldberg. And they thought that somehow it's not such a beautiful name. But Smerconish, this is a hit. You couldn't think of another name. And you want to get even with somebody, so you look to me like a real Smerconish. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the radio talk show host on WPHT in Philadelphia.
The great Jackie Mason. Hey, Jackie, privileged to welcome you back to Philadelphia by way of MSNBC. How are you, my friend?
Thank God, thank God. I'm watching you on television, and I see it's unbelievable how you're almost doing a good job. Very close.
Hey, Jackie. I bring greetings from my mother because Mom was at the Regency the other night and she saw you perform and you gave her a shout out. And I don't know, she's not like me. She may have been a little bit timid to raise her hand when you asked whether she was in the house. But the point is, she loved the show. Our whole family loves the show. We all love Jackie Mason's humor.
Well, thank you. It's about time you noticed it, but you're only one of billions of people. Everybody in the world enjoys Jackie Mason, and this is no novelty to me. Maybe it's news to you.
We've got a great mayoral race playing itself out in Philadelphia right now, and a Philadelphian is scheduled to be the moderator of one of the final debates, if not the final debate in this contest. It's none other than Chris Matthews, of course, of Hardball and Chris Matthews Show fame. I don't know why they don't want me. They want Chris, but he is a Philly guy, so it's okay with me. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hi, Michael. Good morning. Good luck today.
Thanks. I appreciate it very much. Hey, this is a hard one to predict. People say to me, who's going to win this race in Philly? I have no idea, frankly, and there's an aspect of this that I think the rest of the nation will find interesting, and that is we've had some campaign finance reform in Philadelphia that limits how much an individual can contribute to a campaign and how much a political action committee can contribute. And the net effect is that no one has been able to raise a lot of money. One guy has a deep pocket. He's leading in the polls, and now the sort of the good government establishment types are wringing their hands and saying, uh-oh, won't somebody please take him out? And, of course, they don't have any funds to take him out.
Interesting, yeah. Well, there's all kinds of laws in the country. They try to make up for that. If you have a self-financing campaign, then the limits are allowed to go up, and everybody tries to adjust to the fact that some people have more money than others. It's a tricky business.
Well, but what's wrong with my idea, whether it's in Philadelphia or nationally? Let it all happen. Spend whatever you can raise. Spend it from whomever is willing to make the donation as long as there's full disclosure. You don't like somebody who's supporting an opponent, then vote against them.
Well, let's see if people like it. I mean, we've had that before. I mean, that's what we have, basically. I mean, Rockefeller was elected governor of New York 4 times. His name's Rockefeller. He financed the campaigns. I mean, nobody, everybody accepted it. That's the way it was. The Kennedys had money. People have money, they spend in these campaigns. Milton Schaap in Pennsylvania was a self-financer all those times. We've gone through that period. It's not like we're trying something new. We're trying to find a way where a professor from a university could possibly run for president or run for Congress or something. So it wouldn't always be a self-financed person or a machine candidate.
Hey, Chris, thanks for being here. It's awfully nice.
Good luck today. I mean it. Go ahead, Michael. You're our guy from Philly.
Thank you, Chris Matthews from Hardball. How difficult is it for Rudy Giuliani to be viable in Republican primaries meaning to appeal to the conservative forces within our party, but maintain his viability for a general. And you know from our prior conversations, I'm a big tent guy on social issues, like you can speak for yourself, like I think you are. I'm someone who thinks we need to be welcoming of those who are pro-choice, welcoming of those who are pro-gay rights, welcoming of those who are in favor of stem cell research, and be willing to say that the Shivo situation was a mistake, and at the same time be tough on illegal immigration and national defense.
Well, it's not hard. I mean, you just tell people what you think, and sometimes it breaks down on one side, sometimes it breaks down on another of an issue, sometimes it's in the middle of an issue. You let people decide that, and you pretty much be yourself. And there are things where you're not going to change your mind, things where conditions have remained the same, so you're not going to change your mind. There are going to be times in which conditions have changed. You look at immigration. Immigration now has to be looked at from the point of view of terrorism. We're at risk. Our borders are one of the ways in which, we're at risk. So you better find a way to deal with those borders. And even the idea of a situation where people, pay taxes, pay penalties, and then have to read, write, and speak English, having a program like that to deal with the illegals so that they're not given amnesty is a way of making us more secure. Because if you keep that list so great, so large, and you have the Immigration and Naturalization Service spending as much time trying to search for the guy working in a restaurant as they are the guy who's planning to use a bomb, then you have an insecure situation.
You take a state like my home state of Pennsylvania, where the president failed to carry it in either the 2000 or 2004 election. And right now, the most recent polling data suggests that either you or John McCain would defeat Barack Obama or Hillary Rodham Clinton. And people have called my program, or media members have called me, and they've said, how can that be? If the president's approval rating is so low, how can Rudy Giuliani be running ahead of the pack? My answer is that people perceive you to be tough on national security, but very appealing to moderates who are largely suburbanites on those social issues that we were just discussing.
Michael! That Irish Michael! Smerconish, MSNBC. Every morning, every day. Michael Smerconish on MSNBC.
Hey, it's good to see you. I almost feel guilty in asking you to do this because you probably feel compelled.
You're guilty.
When you play.
Michael.
Everybody wants to hear the great John Anderson sing Roundabout.
Okay, well,
it's early for you.
I'm going to try my best.
Do you feel compelled when you do a show like, I know they want to hear All Good People. I know they want to hear Roundabout. I know they want to hear...
Strange, I love singing
you do.
songs.
You never get tired of it.
Well, I'm still trying to get it right, to make it sound good.
Let me say it this way then. Here's hoping you never get it right, because I don't want you to ever stop trying.
True.
All right, so your man Zach Page is going to do his best over there.
He's going to start now. Get going, Zachy.
And you're going to take us out with... Hey, John, it's great to see you, my friend. Thank you. John Anderson from Yes with Zach Page, and he's from the Paul Green School of Rock, which started in Philadelphia. All teenagers who come together and they play classic rock songs. I don't want to talk over this, so I'll stop.
The roundabout, the words will make you out and out. Spend the day your way. Call it morning, driving through the sound and in and out the valley. Whew.
Good morning, Senator McCain. Welcome back to Philly by way of MSNBC.
Well, thanks, Michael. It's good to be with you. And this whole Pat Tillman thing, as you so well pointed out, as botched up as the investigation was and all the pain and heartache that it caused his family because of it, he still remains, as you pointed out, a genuine American hero. He earned his Silver Star no matter what the circumstances of his death, and I'll always revere him as one of the great American heroes who wanted to serve his country and gave up a great deal in order to do that. And so it's fine with me if hearings are held, and I think the more information we have is always very important, but as you pointed out, in no way should that detract from his status as an American hero, and he'll remain a role model to me and to, I think, of millions of Americans.
And you wrote about him, and one just wonders, why was there a disconnect between the military leaders who must have concluded, Senator McCain, that somehow his memory would be diminished if it were revealed initially the way in which he died?
I have no way of understanding why they would not appreciate the fact that one, these things always come out or almost always come out, and second of all, that it in no way diminished him. And most Americans understand that one of the great tragedies of war is friendly fire, and it happens in every war, and it's a thing that we've managed to lessen enormously thanks to technology and other things, but it still is going to happen from time to time. It's one of the many reasons why war is both dangerous and tragic.
Paint the picture of the environment in which Lisa Scottoline is cranking out her best work. I mean, what is it? Is it old school writing? Is it word processor? Is there a window? I want to be in that room and watch it happen.
My best work I do at the mall, but you're not talking about like the shopping thing, which is
that's what you do with all the proceeds from Daddy's Girl.
Yeah, exactly. Do you like my earrings, by the way?
Nice.
Very nice. Very MSNBC. I wore them for you.
Very cool.
I sit in an office 7 days a week in front of a computer. I type like this, like a complete idiot, because I can't type, and night and day. That's what it takes. Writing is a bear for time, and I just turn them out.
If you get mail while you're writing,
yeah,
do you take a peek?
Yeah, I always say I can't help it.
I can't help it either. I can't help it.
It's fun. It's our break.
I just read these like management experts who say, get your world in order, restrict yourself to peeking at your BlackBerry once an hour. I'm thinking, once an hour? Are you kidding me?
First off, they're no fun. Who wants to be a management expert? I want to check everything.
But don't you get sucked out of that story,
sometimes,
and now you got to go back in, and you're like...
Well, look, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the email, which is to scottoline.com, that's my site,
right,
will say, I really love your books. Now, isn't that a nice thing to hear in the middle of the chapter?
Keeps you going.
That's right.
Or maybe
it's a little coffee.
Then stay away from my email.
It
would take you in the other direction.
No.
Hey, one thing I love about the Lisa Scottoline story is sort of the Horatio Alger element of... It's not as if you wrote a book, you handed it over, and bang, you became the star that you are today.
Well,
a lot of rejection. Tell that story. It's important for people to know, no matter what it is they're doing. Now I sound like Dr. Phil. No matter what it is they're trying to do in life, because you achieved your dream, but you had to go through those hurdles.
That's kind of you to say. I mean, in short, I got divorced about the same time my daughter was born. I know. I'm the classy person on today. Get back to Ryan Howard. But anyway, I basically said, I have to find another way to make a living, and I'm a single mom. So 5 years of rejection later, because a lot of men were writing a lot of contemporary fiction. I said, why can't I have a degree in English. I studied with Philip Roth at Penn. I'm pretentious. I should be able to try this. And lived on credit cards for 5 years. Got up to $38,000 in credit card debt. But by then, my daughter was in kindergarten, and I, after all this rejection, finally got published.
So I was together with D.L. Hughley in California. I did a speaking engagement at a suburban Philadelphia high school. I did a couple of them, as a matter of fact. And you got to picture 500 white kids in the prosperous, you're laughing already, in the prosperous suburbs, okay? And the subject matter of my address happened to be the Holocaust, but at the end of the address, I started to talk politics. Anyway, I took a straw poll. I said, hey, who are you for if you could vote? And Barack Obama, among these white kids in the Philadelphia suburbs, was the overwhelming favorite.
They vote for Dr. Dre if he were on the ballot, too, so that's young people don't tend to vote, and everybody knows that. I don't care what people, the pre-polls say, they just don't tend to. I think that he's captured an American idealism. I think that he's smart and articulate. Oh, I better not say that. I don't want Al Sharpton Pickett in front of my house. But,
well, no, Joe Biden called him smart and articulate and had to apologize because that's how insane the PC forces are.
You know what? And I agree with you on another thing. I think that freedom of speech is kind of a zero-sum proposition. You either believe in it or you don't. I thought that what happened with Don Imus was one of the most atrocious things I've seen in the last few years. I think that those girls, he made a joke. I've watched his show for a long time. He made a joke that was funny to me because anybody that watched those shows knows that those weren't the most. When you can braid hair and palm a basketball, somebody's going to say something about you. So,
DL, better that you're offering these views than me. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a shame. You know what? I think that we've gotten to a point where no one ever has any realistic discussion.
Hey, we've been reminiscing this morning. I've been reminiscing about some of the great debate moments. When Andrea Mitchell, with your wealth of experience, thinks about presidential debates, what's at the top of your list?
Well, interestingly, one of the debate moments that you talked about earlier with Alan Schroeder, when you think about that Bernie Shaw moment with Michael Dukakis, trivia question, Michael, who were the other panelists on that debate?
Well, it's got to be you in part.
It was Margaret Warner and Ann Compton from ABC and me and Bernie Shaw. And I have to tell you, we talked about the questions beforehand. He was going to only get one question because under the rules, he was the moderator. And he told us beforehand what he was going to ask. And we said, you're not going to ask that question, 3 women, 1 man. We said that would be rude, that would be too aggressive, that would be too edgy. Here, this is the last of the 2 debates. There were only 2 debates that year. And he said, no, I'm going to ask that question. Of course, what does anyone, historians, anchormen like you, who remembers anything else from that debate? I don't think you remember me asking about the nuclear triad.
No, I would like to tell you that.
Memorable.
How are you?
Good point, though.
Okay, you're 20, you're 21, you're in Miami. Set it up for us. It's an unbelievable story.
Well, I was a news director at a small station. I was into politics and murder and the Cuban exodus from Florida and all that business. And the Beatles come, and they have a little 2-concert tour of America. And then the program director says, we need an interview with them in Jacksonville, which is their closest stop to Miami on the biggest tour ever done.
Right.
27 cities, 34 days. I write to Brian Epstein. I put my business card in it. He thinks that I'm a radio mogul. He doesn't know that I'm 21 and really just an infant in the business.
So you just take a shot in the dark.
And they invited me on the tour, and I said, I don't want to go. I mean, why would I want to travel with a band that's not going to be here in 3 months? So I arrived on August 18th, 1964, San Francisco Hilton Hotel.
Yeah.
And I opened the door, and, I'm just kind of naive here. I opened the door, and in the door in my room is a young lady sitting there with a mini skirt up to here. And I said, what are you doing? Am I in the wrong room? And she said, no, Mr. Kane, I am. And I said, wow.
Wait a minute. Did Lennon send her over for...
No. She was a flight attendant on the plane, and she booked under my name. And I said, what are you here for? And she said, I am here, Mr. Kane, to make you so happy that you will get me to see the Beatles tonight. And I'm saying to myself, what do I do? And now, don't laugh at me, America. What do I do?
No, Larry, don't waste our time telling us you didn't partake.
I didn't inhale, didn't exhale, did my best to resist temptation. Okay.
You
got to keep my reputation up, You
didn't succumb to the flesh, as that minister in Atlantic City said a couple of weeks ago.
Not then. But anyway, the phone rings, and it's Derek Taylor, the press secretary. Just come on down the room, meet the guys. So I come down the room with my 35-pound tape recorder.
Right.
And I interviewed Paul's lovely. They're drinking scotch, they're relaxing. They just got here. George is great. He's still looking down his guitar as he always did. Ringo, just happy. There's some pictures of the early days. And then I go to John Lennon.
By the way, that's you on the monitor, right?
That's me, not on the left, the man with the microphone.
With the full head of hair.
That's me in the middle with the full head of hair, with dark hair.
And you're 20,
and that's me in 1968 with John and Paul, last filmed interview, which is on the DVD of the book. I was 25 at this time.
And you maintained those relationships all the way.
Yes, and in that room, John Lennon looked at me and said, what is wrong with you? You look like you're a round peg in a square hole. And I said, well, it's better than looking like a slob like you. And we proceeded to have an interview, and the interview was about Vietnam and racial polarization and all that. And it was a great interview, but I walked down the hall depressed. First of all, I had insulted John Lennon, and all of a sudden I felt 2 hands on my back, and he swung me around, gave me a hug. Now, my life with John Lennon, he doesn't do many hugs, okay? And he said, I am so sorry. I really look forward to traveling with you, and I am totally relieved. Now I have to deal with a woman. I'm looking down the hallway, and there's this beautiful woman with a blue coat on, and Malcolm Evans, their road manager, and she's hugging him and doing everything you can do to a person in public without being arrested on the spot. It was her. I never saw her again, but I guarantee you, Michael,
the flight attendant,
she got to meet the Beatles that night.
Yeah, all because of you.
I will guarantee you that.
Well, you brokered the transaction.
Well, sort of.
Yeah, don't worry. Donna's not listening, and she's not watching.
She's watching,
and she doesn't care even if she is.
Yeah, she does.
Good for you, my friend.
Now and then, a lot of other crazy things happen.
You maintain the relationship. You're a broadcaster yourself. Years later in Philadelphia, you're the lead anchor man in the city, and there comes a time when John Lennon does the weather. Like, what is that all about? And I think for the benefit of those watching on MSN, we can run the footage while you describe the whole scenario.
Well, what happened was he was in trouble with the law. The United States government tried to deport him, which was pretty absurd.
Yeah.
And, he was looking for outlets to show himself again. And the sales manager for the station and I convinced him to come down. He comes down by train, Amtrak.
New York City to Philly.
Yeah, subway to train.
Right.
All right. Pick him up at the station. He's saying goodbye. Hey, everybody's saying goodbye, John. See you soon. Comes out. We give him a tour of the city. He meets about 11,000 people in the flesh that weekend for a Helping Hand Marathon, which partially benefited multiple sclerosis, the disease that killed my mother. He remembered that I lost my mother when I was 20, 21, and he was 15 when he lost his. He remembered everything. Came down. It was unbelievable that weekend. And then he decided in the middle of it to do the weather. On Channel 6, Action News in Philadelphia.
Right,
And the
which
video
was
you're about to see is John doing the weather.
The king of all stations at that time.
Well, still is. But,
Don't get me in trouble at home.
He's going to, he still is. There's a lot of competition now, though.
There you go. Thank you, Larry.
Anyway, and I have a lot of friends at the other competition.
You go.
And what you've got right now is John Lennon doing the weather on the air, and he's throwing the magnetic fields and all that stuff. And it's quite a scene in Philadelphia.
Do we have that? Can we run it? I would love to be able to show that. We're working on getting it.
Okay. Now, so this was the continuation of the relationship, but then something happened later that year, and this is a very important political lesson for the Democrats and Republicans who are listening. John Lennon was sued by the United States government because of a marijuana possession conviction in 1968, and because he wrote the song Imagine, which really dissed off a lot of people in government.
He gets prosecuted for Imagine?
For Imagine. Well, that was one of the reasons. So he goes before this judge, and I want everybody to understand this story. I told this to Yoko a few weeks ago, and she could not believe this story, although it's in the book. He goes before a judge named Irving Kaufman. Irving Kaufman is as tough as you can get. And there's Yoko and I on the set of Comcast and CNA.
Just within the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and so I have a show there.
She who broke up the Beatles.
She did not break up the Beatles.
Well, we'll come back to that.
You broke up the Beatles.
Go ahead. We'll come back
anyway, to that. So he goes before this judge, and the judge listens to his case. And this is 1975, and the judge says, in his ruling, Circuit Court of Appeals, judge as closest to the Supreme Court as anybody in New York State, says that John Lennon's battle to stay in this country was testament to his faith in the American dream of free speech. And he says, go for your green card. Judge Kaufman was the same man who sentenced Ethel and Julius Rosenberg to death in the electric chair for spying against the United States. So the absurdity of the government going against him, just amazing. He was a guy, who was an abuser, who became a feminist. He was an anti-war activist.
Abuser of what? You
women.
Mean of women?
Yeah, he had many women, but he loved only 3.
Yoko,
May Pang, his girlfriend, and Cynthia's first wife, and a man. And a man, too.
Had a lot of drug issues at a time when you were hanging out with them.
Well, I didn't have any drug issues.
No, I didn't mean you. I meant
my
Lennon.
drug of choice was aspirin.
Right.
He was totally invested in
Did
Brandy
they offer
Alexander's.
to you? I guess you're the Cub reporter.
Well, when I traveled with John, Paul, George, and Ringo, there was a lot of temptation. The first year, the toughest thing they did was drink rum and Coke. And then they met John Lennon. Not John Lennon, Bob
John
Dylan,
Legend.
Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan introduced them to marijuana, which they thought was a pretty neat thing. And on the second tour, there was a lot of that floating around. And I smoked at the time, cigarettes. That's all. And
did he pass you a bone? I mean, tell us the story.
Well, at a party in Los Angeles at Burt Lancaster's house.
Oh my God! Come on.
They offered me.
When does Liberace enter the story?
Well,
All
actually,
right.
Sandra Dee's there, and Peggy Lipton, and Bob Hope, and Frank Sinatra. It's pretty neat. They gave me a cigarette to try.
Right.
And I inhaled it, but I didn't know what it was. I really didn't.
What
know
are you
what it was.
running for, by the way?
Well, I am not running for anything. But about tonight's debate, it's all about.
Don't even try the transition.
It's all about command presence.
Wait, we have a minute left.
Yeah.
You got 60 seconds to convince everybody listening in Philly and watching on MSNBC that Yoko Ono did not break up the Beatles.
Tell you why they didn't break up the Beatles, Michael. When you are in history, like the Democratic candidates will be tonight on this network, you don't know you're in history. Who would know that 7 years ago you'd start out at 8 years ago as a talk show host on the weekend?
Don't bring
and
me into
now
this.
America's watching you. You
No,
are
come
the.
on.
You are
She
the,
was the troublemaker.
You are the
She was-
icon of inclusion.
She was the instigator.
I don't believe it's true. I believe they all felt that it was time for them to break up. They figured it was over. Did they know they were going to become the iconic giants, the majestic kings of the world of music? No. And you don't know right now where you're going, but I know.
Oh, man. Hey, it's a good book, and there's a DVD in it, and the stories are fabulous, and continued success with
Can
this.
I just say something?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely fantastic to have you on national television because you are the best
You're nice to say.
at
Okay,
what you do.
but it all ends tomorrow, and then we load the car and we go back to Philly, and Monday you know where to find me.
It doesn't
okay?
all end tomorrow.
It all ends tomorrow.
It does
and then
not
we'll be
all
back.
end tomorrow.
We're going to fire up the
And
limo.
TC's
the
looking pretty
MDX.
good out over there, huh?
We're going to load up the limo, the MDX.
How about TC?
She's doing great. She's
Yeah.
working hard and doing great. Philadelphia Zoo, and this is a national trend. The Philadelphia Zoo has had a controversy relative to the elephants, and you guys know this. The elephants are shipping out, and they're shipping out because the animal rights activists, and by the way, I am one when it comes to dogs, they say the elephants don't have a big enough yard in which to play. So yesterday, while I'm on the air, I get this blast that tells me there's a press conference at the Philadelphia Zoo, and I thought, here it is, here comes the end. It turns out that we're sending 3 of our elephants, our Asian or our African elephants, I'm not sure, but 3 of them, we're sending them to Pittsburgh. 2 of them are going to breed. They've got some.
How does that process happen?
They've got some big male elephant in Pittsburgh. Yeah, and then
really?
yeah. And if all goes according, how does that happen? I don't know.
Just for that
No,
process?
No. Okay,
Wait.
and then and then if all is cool, we get the offspring back in Philly.
Oh,
So
nice.
anyway, it just sets up beautifully the Jack Hanna thing that we are about to do. So stick around on MSNBC and the Big Talk Air 1210. Ron, I've always wanted to do a Jack Hanna thing. Today I get my shot. What do you got in your bag of tricks?
This is great. Wait till you see this, Michael.
All right, very cool. And for the folks playing along at home on the Big Talker 1210, I'll try and provide. Oh no! Oh. Hey man, hold on to that sucker. Look at that.
My goodness.
Okay, when we
we'll put him right up here for you, Michael.
When we did this in Philly, you had a 6-inch gator.
That was actually a dwarf crocodile, Michael. This is an American alligator, and this gator is about 6 years old, and it's
This thing
5
is
feet
scaring
long.
the crap out of me. I'm telling you.
And I know, TC told me I should bring small zoo animals. So, relatively, this is a small zoo animal. This animal, the record for an American alligator is over 18 feet long. So this is a pretty small one, actually.
Wow. Well, yeah,
Michael,
look, he does
you
not
wanna-
look too sight.
You want to hold that?
No, you know what I'm interested in? Can we do the New York Times test and see which way he wags his tail when he greets you, his owner?
Actually, he wags his tail when he's trying to capture food and things like that. He doesn't wag it in the same way a dog does.
Hey, Ron, I'm not going near him, but I remember you telling me, I guess you told me last time you were in, that it would not be difficult for me to hold down the snout up there.
Yeah, the snout actually.
In other words, not a lot of muscle. You got him?
There's not a.
Okay.
I have him. Don't worry, Michael.
Why is he looking at me like that?
He's a little hungry. He didn't have his breakfast yet.
But you couldn't stop him from clamping down, right?
Right. The muscles that close his mouth are very strong. However, the muscles that open the jaws are very, very weak. So you can actually hold the mouth shut with 2 fingers.
It'd be a great YouTube moment, but it ain't worth it. All
right.
right. So hold on. 10 minutes in front of the hour. I'm Michael Smerconish from Philly, from the Big Talker 1210 WPHT, and thanks again to MSNBC for simulcasting the program all week long. How appropriate for me to be able to finish out a great week with my friend Joe Scarborough from Scarborough Country. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Great, Michael. How you doing?
I appreciate it, buddy. It's good of you to be here. How'd you enjoy last night? For us, it's a couple of junkies. It's like a Super Bowl.
It really is a couple Super Bowls. Let me start by saying you've been doing a great job this week. I've enjoyed being able to turn on MSNBC in the morning and not being worried about my wife walking through the room and getting angry when I get insulted by Don Imus. So I've actually been able to relax, eat some cereal, get my kids ready for school, and not have to push my wife away from the television set.
You're nice. You're making me sweat, but thanks for the good wishes.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it is. It is like the Super Bowl. I had an absolutely great time down here and was curious to see what was going on. And, Barack Obama's been compared to JFK and Bobby Kennedy and Jesus Christ. I mean, you name it. This guy has been praised so much by the press that there was no way he was going to meet expectations last night, and he didn't. And I think usually I would say, I would be the guy on the panel saying, you know what? We sit around here trying to figure out who's going to win and who's going to lose. People in Middle America don't listen to us. They make up their own minds. But in this case, Michael, it matters so much because Barack Obama, and it's not a knock to him, but Barack Obama is a creation of the Washington media press corps.
Thank you, Joe. You've been awfully kind in bringing me on your program over a long time period, and I'm much obliged.
I love having you. Great week, Michael.
Thank you. And thank you to MSNBC, and thank you to TC for your extraordinary booking talents, and to all the support that we receive. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Greg, back at home. Thank you to Tom Bowman and the whole crew here. They've treated us really marvelous.
They've been phenomenal. The crew on the floor has been amazing.
And we have enjoyed it.
Love it. Love it. And you're made for this gig.
They're going to have to crowbar you out of there.
The car is packed. Fran is gassed, and we are ready to go back to Philly. So we'll see you all on Monday morning back in Philadelphia.